Going into 2026, influencer marketing will be completely different. If you don't know what trends are going on, you're gonna be at a bad position. And that's why in this video, I'm gonna break down the exact trends that are going on in the creator economy and then how you can capitalize on them. Let's dive into it. The first thing you have to understand is there's going to be a shift in where customers are actually first finding you, then in how they're validating product, and then in how they actually make their decisions. So the reason this matters more than ever is because if you look at skepticism amongst consumers, it's at an all-time high. Ads have plummeted with click-through rates, cost per clicks have gone up. Many people have started to mention AI algorithms and AI search engines, and YouTube and Instagram have started to take over traditional Google search. In fact, there's a study that mentioned over 75% of Gen Z has transitioned to a search platform other than Google for less than 50% of their search queries. Now, the last thing is a lot of people have started to sell direct to consumer. And if your brand is selling direct to consumer, that's great because you can capitalize on this trend. So I'm going to explain the three things. First, how to funnel people to your long form content, which is phenomenal for conversions by starting the acquisition at YouTube Shorts. Then I'm going to explain how Instagram is prioritizing AI with its algorithm to make sure that your videos are shown to the right people. And the third thing that I'll elaborate is how do you build micro and nano influencers into a system? And that's typically where they perform the best because they're very large scale and there's lots of logistical complications. So the first thing to understand is if you're a wellness brand trying to market your product, you're in a very trust heavy category. Trust is of utmost importance. Everyone buying a wellness product will want to make sure there's proof before committing to anything as it may detriment their health. Now, I know this is obvious, but it also should be made clear that a single exposure, a single touch point will not convert. So the solution to this is to show influencers first actually living your product, putting your product into their day-to-day life. If you're selling a hair treatment or a hair improvement cream, you want to make sure the creator is integrating this into their routine. The second, you want to make sure that there's ongoing use by the creator shouldn't just mention it once in a video. You want to have creators mention this multiple times throughout the video. And the third thing is you want to start replacing all your claims on either your website or your ads with instead real stories about people, or better yet, influencers who use your product and got a great result. So if we look at what are the different acquisition strategies, there would be creator content, paid ads, PR stories, and then owned channels. So let me give you an example. Let's say you're selling magnesium supplements and a creator has a long YouTube video breakdown on which magnesium type helps with your sleep. Then from there, you take that YouTube video and you make 20-second high retention clips with a tool like Opus Clip, where you could talk about glycinate versus citrate, which is a sub niche of nutrients, I believe, that are related in some way to magnesium. And then what you do is you replicate this with as many creators as possible. And you try and, just like you're covering SEO links, you're trying to cover the creator landscape with your product. So a lot of the time, influencers are now doing the job that brand marketing used to do. They're building trust over time and they're making a lot of familiarity. And they're moving people from the category of never heard from you to, oh, I trust you enough to try, which makes it a lot easier to get buyers for your product. Next, we're going to notice people trust people more than ads. And this is just going to become more and more prevalent going in 26, especially in the wellness space. You could think of influencer marketing like digital word of mouth. So don't just think of reach and impressions, think conversions. Think how many other people do I get from these clients that are brought in from this influencer mentions. The public saying about my product, are they validating it? Are they against it? A lot of the time when an influencer posts a video promoting your product, it's going to be very evident what the public thinks in the comment section. And this is a phenomenal way to get live feedback and review from someone who hasn't trusted enough to buy from you, at least not all of them. And then that way you can implement that feedback and make a better product. And the third thing is introducing community proof. So social platforms are essentially like a research engine, at least YouTube primarily. Instagram and TikTok a little bit less so, but when we focus on YouTube, when someone has a problem, for example, I have a headache before going to bed, that can be a problem. People type that in YouTube and try and find a video. And if that video coincides with your magnesium supplements, then you have a customer from that video. So nowadays you can think of this as the stages from discovery, person discovers your product, to buyer, someone invests in your product. First, they'll see a 30-second reel, might be on YouTube Shorts or Instagram. This could be something like morning routine for energy crashes. Then they're going to start doing research. They're going to go on YouTube. They're going to search supplement ingredients. Does this work? Side effect? Okay, they're learning a little bit. And then they click on your long form, and there they're going to watch, they're going to look at your ingredient explanations, and then after that, they want to get validated. So they're going to open up the comment section, and they're going to maybe ask a question to you, maybe check the comment. People love to engage with one another. And let's be clear, authenticity will always win. You always want live routines, you want an honest breakdown, and you want to have community conversations, right? That's why cool communities work really well. What doesn't really work, right, with influencer marketing 2026 is if you just have a purely scripted promotion, it's just polished to perfection. You can just tell how fake it is. And you have this endorsement that's really forced, and you have a generic claim. And I'm actually going to explain how you can avoid all of these, and it's going to take your conversions 5, 10, 20x with influencers in just a couple minutes. But first, let's look at how does YouTube educate your audiences and why is it so good for conversion? Well, first, people want education again. We had a dip 2015, 2020, people were really digging entertainment. People have started becoming more health conscious. They want to be educated. Now, the time that people spend watching creators builds a bond. So when you go to promote your product, you're taking some goodwill from this bond, and people are paying attention to what the creators say. And if you have the creative brief done right, you're going to notice these people go to buy your product, and make sure that there's a fit between your product and the creator. So here are some content examples that you can find. First, maybe a yoga creator. You can sponsor a yoga creator that does 20-minute stress relief follow along videos. Then you can sponsor, to capture a different part of the market, a nutrition creator. This is someone who does long form supplement ingredient breakdown with science. Notice these two are completely different, and by targeting one, you're capturing one piece of the pie, if the pie is the market. And then on the other one, you're capturing a completely different piece of the pie. And the third one could be people that do a 15-minute deep dive before any purchase decision is made. Now, coming back to what's going to be happening in 2026, it's the shorts to long funnel. So you should be thinking of having your short form content, or the influencers that you have promoting your product, have them make this short form content as a trailer. For example, your sleep routine isn't working because of magnesium tight. And then take all this and drive it to your long form content. Have a very clear, explicit CTA to this full breakdown video. And then when you have this complete explanation, that's what's going to build trust and conversions. Also, start using YouTube community features, or tell your creators that are promoting your product to use it as well. You can actually engage now with communities between uploads. You can even create membership. And these are people who are a lot more vested and have a lot more vested interest. And you can also do live weekly session Q&As, and this is phenomenal for building maximal trust with your audience. Let's be clear that people who are leading in their community, in their space, are going to convert way better than just people who post content. And the same goes when they promote your product. The next thing is Instagram is actually prioritizing AI. They already released translations, and now they're niching down on the type of content that it shows to users using its AI features. So there's multiple ranking systems, right? We all know Feed, Reels, Explore, Stories. Now the platform is going to be showing content to non-followers only when AI understands how your niche connects with these subset of random people. So just to break that down, if your target audience is vague, unclear, and Instagram doesn't just look at the video, it looks at the text below, it looks at the words you actually say, it looks at the text even in the video. It's going to take all this, it's going to create a target audience, and then it'll show your video only to those people. So make sure you're being hyper specific on how you make your Instagram videos. So for example, if you're a meditation coach, you want to be repeatedly posting guided meditation, mindfulness tips, and ways to cope with anxiety and different strategies to do so. Now, the result of this is Instagram starts to learn which content will behave well in front of your audience, which is mental health, mental wellness. And then you're going to have a reach beyond just your follower base. And that's how you grow. As obvious as it sounds, most people don't actively think who is their target audience, because when you have that set, you're able to sacrifice everyone who's not your target audience to niche down and to get a better following. So here's also some key ranking signals going into 2026. Watch time and completion. Lots of people don't see this, but you can see it on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Of course, the benchmark really varies depending on the industry. However, try and aim about 30-40% on YouTube, Instagram or YouTube Shorts or TikTok, 70-80% and above. Shares on YouTube, saves, and then meaningful comments. Very important one. Control A, select all your comments, put it into ChatGPT, ask them how many of these are real comments that are meaningful. That will tell you a lot about your content or the influencer's content. So here is a good design that you can use for distributing. You have a 30-second recipe, a tutorial, some baking recipe. Hook them instantly, get them to keep watching until the end. And if they complete it, the algorithm will keep distributing it. Here's some also ideas for Instagram Live. So here would be an in-app flow. So another thing for 2026, we have a lot of generations that can buy. Each generation will require a different strategy. First, Gen Z. The content style typically works best when it's candid. You got some behind the scenes to make it more authentic. And it's maybe interactive on some extent too with polls. The formats you could use for this are polls, Q&A, challenges, and the trust that they've been able to build, Gen Z, is immense. A lot of them feel like peers to each other. So for example, let's say you do a 7-day wellness challenge. You get 10 micro creators to kick it off with like day one energy level check. Then there's daily update each of the creators posting on their stories, and then the followers start joining in with the hashtag energy level check challenge. And let's say you're selling an energy supplement, an energy drink, this would all connect back into it. And then you as a brand can also repost this on your own page to help build progress. And this really starts to feel like a community instead of just a promotion. Now, millennials, they want more factual, evidence-based content, especially in 2026. And they don't want any miracle claims. They've had enough of detox tea scams and definitely no fake expertise. Like they start seeing through that. They're older, and that's why we need to make sure that we follow these criteria. So some examples of winning formats could be here's how to evaluate supplement ingredients. And this is on YouTube because that's where a lot of the education happens. I'm more middle and bottom of the funnel. And the creator here is going to demonstrate his personal selection process. And then this feels more like education, not selling. Just make sure you follow the creative brief properly here. So here's some examples of like niche micro communities that are popular. And what you can do is write down the niche micro communities related to your niche. And that way you can help start partnerships with those brands or those creators. Remember, 2026, it's all about precision. We have a lot of algorithms nowadays. If you're selling a weight loss, gut health supplement, it's far better to target 15,000 people in that space, in that gut health space, instead of a general audience of 500K influencers. So let's look at creator tiers. So there's kind of a 3-tier system. You got macro, it'll give you huge awareness spikes. You got micro, that's the sweet spot between reach and visibility. And you have nano, and these are really creators that build trust quickly. So the strategy with nano influencers in 2026 is you want to get around 50, can be more or less, and you want to get them into a local wellness challenge. Now, a big thing here is a trust factor. When people start doing things friend to friend, which is going to be easy because these nano creators have a lot of friends and have a lot of small followers that trust them and then engage with them and they engage back. And then what's going to happen is you're going to see the momentum happen as more people tell their friends and their friends tell their friends and so on. Now with micro influencers, the sweet spot is you got to reach enough people to matter that you have too many. You still want relatable, authentic content. You want to have a niche focus and you want to really prioritize engagement rate. And now macro influencers, you should use carefully because it's like a double-edged sword. It can work extremely well, can also completely flop. So they typically work really well when you're launching a product, when you're looking to have a spike in awareness, or when you're looking for brand credibility. Now, the risk is the large following does not equate to the value and the followers that will come to your page. A lot of their audience is also passive. They may have followed them 2 years ago, but they don't anymore, even though the follower count is still subscribed. And if they do actually misrepresent your company, and I've got a video talking about how you can advertise as a supplement brand or anything that's in the gray area and make sure that influencers followed it properly. I've got a video that down below. But if you want to avoid a creator talking about your product and saying something which gets the FDA on you, you want to make sure that you're writing your creative briefs well. And you just have to be wary of that too. So in 2026, a follower count won't really matter. Instead, you want to make sure the performance of the content in terms of engagement rate and shares are much better. There's alignment with the audience and you've actually got real reach, not just vanity metric. Now, the content system that time and time again has been winning is short form for discovery, long form for education and nurture, live for then community and conversion, and then UGC for social proof from that. So if there's one thing that you take away from that video, it should be implementing that into your strategy. So we look at the complete system. You start with something like short form, 3 mistakes, keeping sleep broken, then into a long form video, then into the live community, then take those clips, put them into whitelisted ads, and then you can even have a UGC challenge as an ad. And all of this works extraordinarily well. We were just talking with an e-commerce store who sells magnesium supplements, and they recreated this exact system. We're able to get a 5x ROAS over 90 days. In 2026, the FDA is also cracking down on a lot of influencer partnerships. They're having pretty much zero tolerance for any fake content in wellness, so be wary. First, you want to stray away from the old approach. This was just hyper aesthetic edited content. Now we're thinking more behind the scenes, genuine storytelling and honest progress. And this is just what statistics speak. Over 75% of people, or I think it was 76% of people, this was made by Hootsuite, are actually more interested in seeing behind the scenes and authentic creator life instead of just random, highly edited content. Then here are a couple signals that you could use to improve the conversion when you're getting an influencer to promote your product. First is daily usage. Actually put it into the routine. You want to feel unscripted. You want to also repetition. The product promotion should be in multiple videos and then multiple times in the same video. And then you want credibility. You want someone who's done something related to your product. For example, you saw a weight loss supplement, make sure a weight loss coach is promoting it, or someone who has authority in the weight loss space, like they're a doctor or something along those lines. Just to be clear, compliance really does matter. We've seen a lot of companies getting fined. It's not like selling clothes. You have to disclose your sponsorships early. You need to make sure you stray away from any exaggerated claims, and you want to use language like, this was my personal experience, and make sure that's true. When you do have this transparency, you're going to notice you build a lot more trust and you get actual legal protection. Some simple things to do is, in a creator brief, use this. Say, my personal experience. My personal experience, what worked for me, ... I noticed improvements, ... part of my routine. And then you want to avoid this. Miracle cure, guaranteed results. Cures disease. Everyone will see, and you get the point. Now, moving into 2026, how does AI tie into influencer marketing? Well, you should think of it as like a support tool. It shouldn't replace any of your workflows. So behind the scenes, it'll do editing. It can put in captions. You can do scheduling. You can do discovery. I guess a simple way to understand which tasks should have AI, which ones shouldn't. Is it behind the scenes? If so, AI can probably do it. If the human needs to have a voice in this, probably don't give it to AI. And if there needs to be a lot of transparency and you have to disclose it, well, maybe use AI to disclose it. But if it needs to be a lot of transparency and there's a high risk with AI, maybe don't use AI. People don't mind the efficiency of AI. They just don't want to be tricked by thinking that you had something human, but it was AI. So here's some things that you can also shift in your brand strategy in 2026. Don't do one-off posts. Try and find long-term partnerships across multiple touch points. Everyone tries to aim for this, but a lot of people are too scared because they think their audience will just see diminishing returns. But in fact, it's the opposite. A recent study came out by Harvard talking about the halo effect. When someone sees your product not once, but multiple times, they're not 2 times more likely to buy, or 3 times, they're 5, 10, 20x more likely to buy. And this is because people want to see things over and over again. And when they do, that's when they build trust. And every single purchase decision is built when they've crossed that threshold of trust. Remember when you were walking around and you saw either as a restaurant and you kept seeing that franchise all over town. Well, you probably thought it was a credible restaurant. They're not going to scam you. They're not going to take your credit card details. And the same goes for influencer placements. We've also noticed in 2026, a lot of the budget has been shifting to micro and nano creators. We surveyed 22 companies and 70% were using micro and nano, and around 30% were actually using macro creators, which is quite fascinating. And in terms of the brief that you should be using for creators, look at completion rate, look at saves, look at DM shares, and look at meaningful content, comments. We looked at the integrated media system before. So if you're a winning brand, you want to have the foundation with nano creators, then you want to use micro creators to grow. Then to scale, you want to have strategic macro creators. And then this turns into a full funnel machine where you have all 3 working together. If you'd like us to help you with your influencer marketing campaign, comment campaign, and I'll send you a message.